Welcome to the Boys Crypto Show. Let's get this monster cracked and dive right on in. A special shout out to every single one of you who are joining me here in the chat. We got Wanda April, PMG Corey. Thank you for being here, man. Thank you for being here, ladies. Michaela B. April. Thank you for jumping on in, Hey, I'm doing something a little bit different with the music. All the music was on my other computer that I would run behind on the background. So right now we are definitely doing this completely legally. Where is it? Where is it, baby? It's not there. Can you guys hear music? Drop in the chat if you guys can hear music. There should be. If you guys can hear music, let me know in the chat. I want to make sure that's up and going for you guys. Boom, baby. What a green day for Bitcoin. Some massive gainers here in the space. I'll be honest with you. It's been a great day for spot, but I have been, look, the last couple trades, pain, baby, pain. Over here on the perpetuals, we are underwater on some trades here on Ethereum and Bounce token. What's going on with that? What's my strategy here going into the near future? What's happening? Why are we missing out on gains here when the whole market's green? How are our trades red? We're gonna dive on into that, everybody. We were a little late to the game today, not gonna lie. The market took us by surprise. We had a massive pump, and yes, I did start entering in here once we were starting breaking above the 4-hour 200 SMA for Bitcoin, and now we are struggling massively. To stay above this 4-hour 200 SMA after breaking out of this symmetrical triangle here. I'm holding these trades open. Why? Well, I'm speculating on a retrace, as we've been doing over and over again. Usually whenever we close above the 4-hour 200 SMA, I was like, man, we haven't been above the 4-hour 200 SMA since we were up at $100,000, baby. Look at this. The last time we were above this line was up here at $100,000. We closed above. I said, wow, look at that gap in the VRVP. We could gap up pretty quickly from here. We were a little far from the 21, but breaking that 200 SMA, I said, I'm in, baby. I am in, and man, it started dumping in my face. It is what it is. I'm going to go over my trading strategy and what I'm doing here in the near term to catch these juicy gains on the ride up. Shout out to everyone. Thank you for being here on your Monday night, baby. We're about to get these gains this week. So Bitcoin getting a successful breakout out of this symmetrical triangle. We did get a little overbought on the 4-hour time frame, and the stochastics here, as we extend this, are coming down back into fair value. That's okay. I don't like how violently the stochastics are pointing down, but you pull over onto the daily, the RSI is still sitting at the 50 level, and we're still pushing up into that overbought region where we can potentially get pinned. I like that a lot. We're above the daily 200 SMA for Bitcoin. I can't ignore these prices. I can't do it. I cannot do it. I cannot ignore these prices for Bitcoin, and arguably on the altcoins, that may have been our opportunity to get it in that box of remembrance, baby. The box of remembrance here over in total 3. Where is it? Where's my box of remembrance? Is it gone? No way. Total 3, baby. How's my box of remembrance gone? Doesn't make any sense. All right, well, we'll have to look into that. But our box of remembrance was there at one point. And baby, we are above it. We're above the 200 SMA on Bitcoin. On total 3 on the daily, looking very good for a reversal to the upside. We still have this high volume node up here at about 96,000, baby. And we do have this key resistance here at about 95,000 or 94, 95,000. We are not out of the water. We are by no means out of the water. However, I do see a massive reversal coming for Bitcoin and for the alts, as everything is displaying this key bullish divergence here on the daily time frame, with this swing down in price action, while we have that swing up on the RSI indicator, suggesting that we're going to break this $95,000 level before we were to come down here and test that $76,000 level again, breaking above the 200 MA. Everybody that watches this channel knows that we're above the 200 MA. I am a bull, baby. I am a bull. Shout out to everybody who's just joining us on in here. Hey, what's going on? What's going on? Voice sounds great. No music. No music. No music. Oh, whoa. I know what's wrong. I got you guys. We got to unmute it. There we go. Hey. Well, look how many of me there are. Look at that. Is there music now? There should be music. Let me know if it's too loud. I could blast this thing. I could blast it. I could mute it. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to put it about here. And let me know what you guys think. If it's too loud, too quiet, too whatever, let me know. It's a new thing we're testing out here on the channel. We have to, because my old computer died. We got this new setup, and then I was like, man, what about my music? But I can't type on that computer because none of the USB ports work, and nothing works. So you can't plug in a Bluetooth keyboard or anything. You can't even get into it. So how am I supposed to get that file off of that computer onto my computer to use? Because it's already been downloaded, and I had that subscription to, I forget what it was, Every Music or something like that, and they let me download stuff so I could use it on my YouTube channel, but now I can't get back in there. I don't pay for the subscription anymore, and all my saved stuff is lost. So I only had that file. So getting that back on is completely confusing. So right now, we're gonna use some copyright-free music on YouTube, baby. That's what we're gonna do, and we're gonna get through. Shout out to you, got too quiet on the music. Thanks, BMG Corey. I appreciate it, man. Hey, just keep telling me. I'll bump that up. All right, here we go. Diving on into Bitcoin. We did get that death cross. Hopefully, we can get this 21 to start curving, which it will, as price action is coming back above the 200 MA and above the 21. This 21 will start to curve, and we could be looking at the monumental bounce of the century here, getting above this high volume node here, and we're starting to gap up. The next one sits at about 88,000. We did tap that, and then up here at about 96,000. Very, very key areas, but the main thing we're looking at is that daily bullish divergence. I know it's tough, everybody. There's Chop City on the daily. We keep going, but we have this daily bullish divergence. I have to lean bullish here. I have to lean bullish on Bitcoin. We're gonna pull up Bitcoin dominance and see how the altcoins are holding up. It looks very, very good for Bitcoin here in the near term, getting above that daily 200 SMA. We'll see how this daily candle closes. We got that whole, this is what I look for, everyone. That total candle body close above the daily 200 SMA. It looks very, very, very good here for Bitcoin and for the altcoins for a reversal to the upside. So areas of caution, definitely up here, this high volume node at about 9609. We can zoom out and get the full volume profile here, the full VRVP. Yeah, at about 96,000, that's going to be a key area. Another area of resistance that I am tracking here is another, just like we had back here. From swing high to swing low, we had a perfect 786 retrace. So what do we do now? Well, our next swing high, which was that original 786 to swing low, brings us up here, and we rejected perfectly off the 618. That's not what we want to see, everybody. We want to see us push through this golden pocket area. So arguably right above us is a key resistance zone, mathematically an area where Bitcoin has loved to reject to, where assets of all kind love to reject to over the course of their lives, right? So this is a major resistance zone. There are going to be people selling here. Let's see if Bitcoin can get that squeeze to the upside. So there's so many confusing indicators in the chart right now. You have the daily bullish divergence, but you're coming up to a bearish 618786. You're above the daily 200, but you're below the highest volume, the highest node in the VRVP. So you can understand how it's going, it's pushing and pulling and tugging at people's emotions. A lot of confusion with the tariffs right now. Trump tweeting out on Truth Social saying that the tariffs are going to be more targeted. They're not going to be just broad and out for everybody. So that was good news from the market, and the market responded very, very positively to that. I love how Tesla squeezed to the upside. That was so funny to me. The fact that Tesla squeezed to the upside when there was that Twitter group that was saying, oh, we're gonna buy $100 puts and we're gonna sink Tesla to the ground. They are underwater like you wouldn't even believe right now. That is crazy. Looking for Bitcoin for a reversal for the upside, baby. Let's dive on into Bitcoin dominance. See how the altcoins are holding up here against Bitcoin. So yes, we've been over this time and time again. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. We're at that 618786 bearish retracement on the inverse cup and handle on the daily. Same thing, different day. We have the bearish divergence on the daily. The bearish div on the weekly looks like a turnaround point for Bitcoin dominance for me. We're getting a nice weekly red candle to start the week. Let's see if that can push further to the downside. That would be immaculate for our alts. We had this giant gap in the VRVP. I love what I'm seeing for Bitcoin dominance for a reversal to the downside, baby, for Bitcoin dominance. Doesn't necessarily mean Bitcoin's going to fall. That's not what Bitcoin dominance means. In fact, usually when Bitcoin dumps, Bitcoin dominance pumps like crazy because everyone's afraid to be in alt, so they jump on in to Bitcoin dominance, baby, to Bitcoin dominance. April says it's still too quiet. It's still too quiet. Can you hear it at all, April? Can you hear it at all? Let's bump this up here. Whoop. Can you hear it at all? Let me know. Let me know. Whoop. I'll leave it at negative 14. Yeah, 14 decimals. I appreciate you guys helping me get this set up because there's no way for me to really test it on the stream, right? I could do videos, but it's different with videos, the way the volume works. Okay, so let me know. Thank you for the voice, sounding great, awesome. Music a little too quiet, we just bumped that up for you. Let me know how that works. Okay, Bitcoin dominance, that's what I'm seeing for an inverse cup and handle, 618786 bearish retracement to the downside for Bitcoin dominance, supported with this gap in the VRVP, and the daily and the weekly bearish divergence screaming that this is over. This monumental 2-year run that Bitcoin dominance is in is over. Trading beneath that high volume node right here. Or are we right on it? We're right on it, aren't we? We're right on the high volume node. We lose that, we're going to start doing the ball down the hill scenario again. We'll test this lower trend line, and we can start rolling very, very quickly to the downside for Bitcoin dominance, baby. I see a rollover for Bitcoin dominance coming very, very soon. We have some major players in the game making massive moves to the upside. Chronos, four. I've never seen 4. The logo is a 4. I've never seen that coin before. We got Render making an absolute tear. We were talking about Render down here. Where was it? At that that $3, sub $2, $3 where we were averaging in. And baby, we are up 25% on our investment, almost 25% on our investment in our spot bags in just a couple of days. Shout out to each and every one of you who are jumping on into Render, jumping on into Ondo. Ondo not doing as well as I thought it would be. Chainlink doing well. What else do we get? We got Sui doing well. Sui, we're getting in at around 220, 218, and currently trading at 240. Looking really good. That's a 10% move for Sui to the upside. Looking good on the spot bags, baby. Solana getting a little bit of a pump a lump there. Getting a little bit of a pump a lump for Solana. Looking good, everybody. Looking good. Drop your altcoins in the chat. The music should go down now. Down. Thank you, April. I appreciate it. We're gonna adjust this perfectly. We're gonna get it. There we go. Down a little for April. Absolutely. All right, virtuals for Wanda. Absolutely. We'll pull up virtuals, Wanda. Yeah, these trades are sitting underwater. It's been a rough trading day for me. Account currently sitting at, here, let's move this here, $9,011 right here in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. $9,011. We're down almost $300 on the day. Hey, listen, it's very important to control your emotions in this market and have a trading strategy and a trading plan. With Ethereum, I am looking for a potential pullback here for Ethereum. We're trading the flag idea, and we got above the 5-minute 200 MA, and I said this thing is gone. Let's pull up Ethereum here real quick. I will look at virtuals for you, Wanda, absolutely, and if I missed anything in the chat, I will dive into it. I promise. I will scan it over. I am with you guys. All right, so Ethereum, we were trading this flag, right? I put this out on X. I said, hey, we're trading this flag to the upside. Got the break to the downside. Oof, not what we were looking for right there. Not what we were looking for. We had reset stochastics. It looked so good for that bend to the upside, and we got that dump a lump on the 1-hour time frame. Not looking good. We lost a high volume node that we've been forming here, and as we zoom on out, it is not looking the best for Ethereum here in the very, very short term. However, look at the macro here. Let's look at the macro and see what's been going on for Ethereum. Since we've been creating higher highs and higher lows on the smaller time frames, higher high, we make a higher high, we come back down, golden pocket, 618 retrace, and boom, to the upside. You make your next higher high. higher high. From the higher low here, you come down to 618. Are we going to do that again? We made a higher high. Let's get this out of here. Zoom on in like that. Boop. 618 retrace before a shot to the upside. And then you have your, what do you got? You have a higher low to your higher high. You came down. You didn't quite get to the 618 right there. If we zoom on in here, we did not get quite to the 618, but we had a 50% retracement. Okay, so from the swing low here, which I'm still taking as a 618 from down here to the swing high, this is where we're pulling our next Fibonacci retracement. I see a retracement here likely for Ethereum. I think it come down to the 618, 786, but this just looks so predictable to me. I don't know if we're actually going to get this. I know there's tons of buy orders in down here. Look at this VRVP. Look at this VRVP that's been forming over the course of the last few days. This is a massive buy wall. I don't think anybody's getting through. We had this gap down here. We could fall all the way down to 1900. I acknowledge that, but this VRVP is nothing to joke about. If we come down here to that $2,000 level, that may be the last opportunity to get some good longs in this region between 1972 and about $2,007. I see that as very likely for Ethereum if we don't just shoot to the upside from here. Because what are we looking at for Ethereum? As we zoom out here, I'm noticing something very key for Ethereum. This is a key macro zone. This is a zone that Ethereum needs to reclaim in order for its bullish thesis to remain intact. If you're bullish on Ethereum, this has been support over the past year, 2 years, right? And here we are coming up to almost test that support. In the event that we can flip this, if this was just a manipulation zone here, if this was just a manipulation zone by the whales, Ethereum could get up here and flip that resistance currently into support. That could be the launch pad for Ethereum to recover on a macro scale, and start gapping up the VRVP. I love Ethereum. I think Ethereum's going to do numbers this cycle. I don't think it's going to go much lower. Donald Trump has $500 million worth of Ethereum averaging in what looks like every single day. He hasn't just been averaging in, he's been buying altcoins on the Ethereum network. It looks very, very good for Ethereum. Sound is perfect. Great. Thank you for helping me figure that out. That is awesome. Let me know if you guys want me to change the tunes. They're kind of anime tunes right now. Shout out to all my anime nerds that are out there. Shout out to you guys. Okay, but yes, that's what we're looking at for Ethereum. I think we can get this squeeze up here. Test this. If this resistance fails, that support resistance flip, if Ethereum cannot get above that 2141 zone and rejects from here, that could be it. That could be it for Ethereum, and that would really show weakness in the altcoins. That would be it. And with the altcoins showing daily bullish divergence here, just like Ethereum is, this is why I can't ignore this. I can't ignore these prices. We have this daily bullish divergence here on Ethereum that is quite massive. You have your swing up here on the daily RSI, while you have a swing down here on price action that is very, very violent, suggesting that you're going to break this $2,500 level before you break this $1,750 level. The reason I have my stop or my limit longs in down here at about that $2,000 level here, that $2,000 to $2,027 level, is in the event we come down here, my liquidation price for this asset will drop below this prior low, and I'll have this daily bullish divergence to back me up to the upside. And if it gets me from there, it gets me, baby. And if it gets me from there and defies this daily bullish divergence, which is some of the strongest I've seen on any of the coins, look how downward sloping that is. That is absolutely crazy. If this daily bullish divergence gets defied for Ethereum, according to the charts, to me, that's it. Like, we're gonna go into some kind of substantial bear market for Ethereum, I think, here in the near term. Like, if this daily bullish divergence doesn't work out, I think the altcoins are really gonna struggle, and Bitcoin dominance will continue to moon. I do think so, but you're looking at levels down here at 1500. You don't have much beneath this. Key levels of support resistance. You break through this high volume node, you're going on a trip, and to recover from that will be very, very difficult for Ethereum, baby, for Ethereum. Turn the music down to a 12. Hold on. April, tell me if the music is good. All right. Cool. That's what I'm looking at for Ethereum. It is key. It is imperative that it reclaims this zone right here. It is imperative. If Ethereum cannot get above this level at about $2,100, I see major struggle for not just Ethereum, but for all of the altcoins, baby. I really do, and I get this pump. Everybody thought and thinks today, oh my gosh, this is it, this is the reversal, and it very well could be. But we have to acknowledge we're still rejecting currently from an area that is a key support resistance flip on a macro time frame. You could argue that it is on the monthly time frame here. The monthly, let's go to the weekly or the monthly. You can even look at this on the weekly. Weekly support. Even in that massive back on February 2nd, right? This served as a support zone, and now you're coming up and testing it as resistance. Ethereum needs to bounce here. I love how the stochastics are reset. Whenever the stochastics are reset for Ethereum, what happened last time? Look at the last time the stochastics were reset for Ethereum on the weekly here. You had reset stochastics, and you did not come lower from this zone before you went on your monumental run here of 2024. I think that's very likely, and it can happen, and it can happen very quickly for Ethereum, as the shorts on this asset are monumental. We're still sitting above the highest volume nodes here on the macro. I like Ethereum here. I have to like Ethereum here. We bounced off the high volume node. Do we not talk about this every single day on the channel? You know, your ball came up to the hill. Are you not likely to roll up to the next trough right here? I think that's very likely for Ethereum, and that's where I see Ethereum going here in the near term. If we could flip this into support, if we could flip this area into support, that's what I'd be looking at for Ethereum to go on its monumental run that no one expects right now at the current moment in time. That's what I'm looking at for Ethereum, baby, to the upside. We need the resistance is right above us, everybody. It's at $2,100, 2,100 bucks. Ethereum's got to flip this. It's imperative that Ethereum flips this. All right, let's dive on into the altcoins, baby. Drop your altcoins in the chat. Let's start off with Wanda, starting us off almost every single day. Thank you, Wanda. I appreciate you diving on in here. Virtuals. We did call the bottom here. Ooh, we called the bottom for virtuals around 59 cents. And, you know, it has been a wild ride. It has been a wild ride of Chop City. We are currently making what you could argue that this was a lower high, but you made a higher low and then a higher high. So market structure has definitely changed here on virtuals. You have a higher high, you have a higher low, whoop, you have a higher low, and now you have a higher high. Now, what I'm looking at for virtuals, and I was speculating on virtuals continuing to the upside out of this break of the high volume node with this gap in the VRVP. That is still a possibility, even though we're receiving some kind of a pullback. We're getting a pullback here on the smaller time frames. But here's what I'm looking at for virtuals. If we are indeed changing market structure, where's the next high vol? And where is the next likely area for the next higher low to come in? Well, you take your fib from swing low to swing high, and it is likely to come in down here at the 618.786 area. That is a little below the gap in this high volume node here. So I would be looking in this area for my interest in virtuals. And I lost my virtuals trade earlier, everybody. I lost it. I'll be completely transparent with you. Let's see, position history. We took an L on virtuals earlier, baby. We took a fat L on virtuals on 4x leverage. It just shows you the power of leverage. And if things go in the wrong way, in the way you don't expect, you can take L's. However, we have been absolutely lighting up this market, baby. We've been lighting up this market over the past week, doing very well. Yes, you're gonna have losses, and handling those losses mentally is going to be the greatest battle you ever have when you're becoming a trader, when you're learning to be a trader. You have to understand that once a trade is rinsed, once it's rinsed and your trading plan, your strategy is rinsed, you get out and you reevaluate, and you know, you can get out of the trade or reevaluate your trade thesis and adjust from there. You have to learn to be able to adjust. It is a crazy environment how often candles move, all sorts of. I've seen people trade on a 10-second chart. You know how fast a 10-second chart changes? It is absolutely insane. I do not trade on the 10-second chart, just full disclosure. But yes, it is absolutely wild how these candles can really get with you mentally. So it's important for you to have a key strategy, know when to cut off trades, like I did on virtuals earlier. It would be much more pain if I left that trade open, hoping for an upside, an upside move. But it is very important for you to understand that risk management is the key to being successful in this game. Okay, here we are on the daily. Let's dive on over into hold on. Let me dive on into the chat here. Let me dive on into the chat. Howdy, hey everybody. Thank you for being here, sharing your time with me here on this Monday night. Lily, what's going on? PMG Corey, hey, Sin Nasty Kid, thanks for being in here. I appreciate you. Virtuals, heck yeah, that's all the coins we got for now, baby. That's all the coins we got for now. Let's go on into the biggest winner, biggest loser of the day currently. Biggest winner on the day, Kronos. Let's dive on into Kronos, baby. Kronos. Chronos on Coinbase. Yeah, on Coinbase. Here we go. Wow, look at a whoa. Look at this on a moonshot mission to the upside for Chronos. What does this remind anybody? Does this remind anybody of anything? Yeah, this kind of move. Does this not remind you of the move that we just had on, bounce auction token, right? That like that massive moonshot to the upside before you could get a potentially massive retrace. But regardless, this was an immaculate move here out of Chronos. I don't know if there was some kind of news or something like that, but bouncing off this area with this high volume node, getting a squeeze to the upside like no other from the bottom to the top. That's a 31% move, gapping up in the VRVP, coming up to potentially test this daily 200 SMA. And everybody knows you're on this channel. Once you're above the daily 200 SMA, baby, that's when Boys Crypto becomes a bull, baby. A bull to the upside. Looks very, very likely here for Chronos. Let's see what we got going on here on the smaller time frame. So areas of resistance, let's see what we could see here on the macro. Okay, so yes, you are making currently a higher high. If you're looking at this wick right here, you're making a higher high, you made a lower low, you made a lower high, you made a higher low. You made a lower high, higher low, higher high. Okay, so market structure is kind of in question right here. That's what I would say. I would say you're coming up to a key area of resistance where sellers have stepped in before, as evidenced by this wick right here, as evidenced by this wick, and the high volume, the node is kind of sticking out right there. It does show that there's some sellers right in this zone. And if you take your Fibonacci tool from here, from the initial swing, the initial swing high, you're coming up to an area of resistance. It matches up with the daily 200 SMA here, and you're pushing up to the 618786. I just pulled from this reaction right here, was the last reaction we had before the capitulation to the downside back there on February 3rd. So I like that fib right here. You're pulling up into an area of resistance. Regardless, a massive move for Chronos to the upside, baby. Looks good for Chronos. I wouldn't be getting in here, I will tell you that. Two massive daily green candles. How often do you see? Oh, okay, Chronos, look at this. This was a monumental, monstrous move. But to me, you managing risk, whenever you get in here, your risk is just so much higher comparatively to, you get above that daily 200 SMA and you're gone, baby. How many times does that happen? Above the daily 200 SMA, gone. You come back, tested the daily 200 SMA, gone. You broke below the daily 200 SMA. Oh, you did get back above there, but then you dumped massively. You get above the daily 200 SMA, boom. You get below the daily 200 SMA, boom. You get above the daily 200 SMA, and you can go on a rocket shot to the upside, baby. It does seem like that can happen again for Chronos. Going back through history, it looks like oh my goodness, what was this? That was ridiculous. But yeah, that does seem like it could happen for Chronos. I would be sitting on my hands for this one. Doesn't look like something I'm interested in trading right now, just based off of even saying that the market structure, when I say the market structure is in question, that to me screams, hey, Boys Crypto, I shouldn't trade this. If it runs, let it run without you, brother. Let it run without you. Through this gap in the VRVP, it'll run up, maybe it hits this resistance and rejects. But if I'm out of a position, if I'm not affected by it, it's not in my mind. It's not something that I'm looking to trade right now, just because I don't see it as the highest probability setup for my risk management strategy. All right, baby. All right, here, let's dive on into the biggest loser of the day, the biggest L. Who's taking the biggest L? Oh, isn't that nice to see? Not XRP. Okay, XRP kind of is taking the biggest L of the day. Let's see. Trump. Nope. Where is it? It's hard to see these reds here because the greens are so big, the boobles. Caspa taking the biggest L of the day, according to Bubbles. Let's dive on in. Caspa on MEXC, getting that rollover on the daily is kind of surprising, as the rest of the market has moved upward today. Caspa's just been getting beaten down. Looks like it's happened over the last couple of hours. Yeah, over the last 8 hours, Caspa rolling over faster than I think a lot of the other coins are here in the game. You don't want to see this 2-hour 200 SMA fail. You're below the 1-hour 200 SMA. That does not look really good for Caspa here in the near term. You get above the 200 SMA, you're likely to stay above the 200 SMA. You get below, you start closing candles below, and you're likely to stay below, baby. You're likely to stay below, and that's not what you want to see for Caspa. Let's see what we're looking at here on the daily. So Caspa did show that daily bullish divergence here. It was, yeah, it's slight. It's very slight, as you have a swing across here on the RSI. You have a swing across here on the RSI while you have your swing down in price action. That is bullish divergence. That is bullish divergence, everybody. Whenever you have a swing across an equal low on the RSI, while you have a lower low being created on price action. And baby, this looks okay for Caspa. It does suggest that you break this 11.5 cent level before you break this 5.5 cent level, but you are getting that rounded top here. That's not something that you want to see on the lower time frames. Does that look like a head and shoulder? It kind of gives me head and shoulder vibes here going on into this. Not really. Yeah, so I would just kind of keep this on your radar. It's not something I'd be interested in trading right now. Even if you did take a short on something like this, whenever you're shorting the market, it's so dangerous right now. Why is it so dangerous right now? Because a lot of these altcoins have the massive squeeze potential. We've seen it once, twice, 3 times, the massive squeeze potential to the upside for a lot of these alts. It can get very, very frothy whenever this market does turn around and people start regaining their faith in the altcoins again. I do think that that's very, very likely for Cas, but the bullish divergence on the daily, regardless of this chop, says we're going to break 11.5 cents before we break 5.5 cents. That is still a 50% drop from here. Understand, or not 50. This is about a 27% drop from where we are from the high. It's probably about 50. Let's see, about 33% drop to the downside. Oh, 55. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, girl math, right? Yeah. Not girl math. Not girl math. Boys crypto 5th grade math. But yes, dropping to the downside, you could speculate based off this daily bullish divergence. If you did want to try and go for the cup and handle, you could look at getting in a long down here in the golden pocket, but not something I'd be looking to touch right now. I'd wait for some more price action to be able to make my decision here on Caspa, baby. On Caspa. That's what I'm looking at, baby, on the smaller time frames and on the daily for Caspa. If you want to see a reversal here, you're going to have to start playing 200 MA dominoes. This is just like it on every other chart right now. Since Bitcoin started to pull back earlier, all the alts are starting to do the same thing. And yeah, we're struggling on these trades, baby. We're struggling on these trades. Auction's getting a little bit of a bounce here. This is why you can't be stressed, everybody. Don't be stressed. Have your stop losses where they are for a reason. Have your stop losses where they are for a reason, and things can turn around in your favor, baby. In your favor. Have a plan. That's the reason why we have stop losses. The reason, let me talk about stop losses for a minute. Stop losses are incredibly key for you being a great trader. They really are. You can't have them too tight or you can get wicked out and, on that reversal to the upside. There's tons of different trading strategies. I trade on isolated margin, right? That means each individual position is that individual position in and of itself. You could trade on cross margin and add to positions as they go down, like Crypto Banter does that, and he's, kind of gotten absolutely wrecked doing it. But, over the course of this season, over the last couple months. But in the event that the market did turn around and you're averaging down and you're averaging in as prices do fall and you get that reversal, that is a strategy, everyone. It's a strategy. I don't recommend doing it with, your arm, your leg, and, your whole life savings, but it is a strategy whenever you are getting into these altcoins that have been massively beaten down. What are the odds that they fall another 50, 70, 80%? Very, very, very low when Bitcoin's still teasing these $100,000 levels here, even though we're a little less than $100,000 now, but still the threat of Bitcoin coming up to $100,000 is very, very great here, is very, very great. I think that Bitcoin is going to get back above $100,000. Those stops that you guys have, if you have them below the daily 200 MA on any of these assets, and I'm putting the Boys Crypto stamp on this. If you have your stop loss down here, down here on any of these assets that have this daily bullish divergence, risk management, of course. But even if we come down a little bit here in the near term, I think you're safe. I really do think you're safe. Because if this daily bullish divergence, you can look at it this way. This is how I view this daily bullish divergence on the altcoins. On all of them. In total 3, even the average altcoin getting back above the daily 200 SMA, looking very good out of this bullish divergence that we did have here. The bullish divergence, the swing down in price action while we have that swing up on the RSI. Listen, if you have your stop loss below here and your stop gets hit, you know what that means? That means likely, to me, in my view, that the bull market is done for altcoins. Because whenever you defy, just like when you defy bearish divergence and things massively rip to the upside, it works the same way for bullish divergence. If if any asset defies bullish divergence on a macro time frame, what was the last asset that did that? XRP. We'll dive on into that. The last asset that did that, HBAR, XRP, defying bearish div, and ripped to the upside so violently. Why? Because they defied one of the biggest negative technical indicators in the market, right? So whenever you defy the head and shoulders patterns, even though they break down, more likely when you defy them, the market sees, oh crap, everybody's caught with their pants down because they thought the head and shoulders was going to break out or the bullish divergence was going to play out, and then you get that squeeze to the downside or the upside, depending on which way that asset does decide to break, if that makes sense to everybody. So that's why it's important to understand why your stop loss is where it is. When you have a stop loss place, that placement of your stop loss needs to be where you know that your trade idea, the reason you got into that trade, is invalidated. It's invalidated, and you have it below a couple areas of safety and protection in the event that the trade does go against you and you want to hold it open. You're like, okay, it can bounce here, it can bounce here, it can bounce here, and if it doesn't bounce at any of those areas, you're like, yeah, that's it, that's a wash. That's where your stop loss should be hit. That's where your stop loss should be hit, and you have to reevaluate the market. Very important talking about stop losses, baby. Very important talking about stop losses. Very, very, very important. Down to 11, April says. Down to 11 for music. Down to 11. Oh, that'll be up. You have to tell me in the chat. Tell me in the chat what you guys think about the music. Too loud, too soft, too violent, too whatever. Yeah, it's a little bit of this. Hey, don't judge me, everybody. Where even is, I don't know how to do this on this new computer. If you take this and this and this and this and this and this, yeah, we'll have to figure that out later. But yeah, if you guys can hear music, great. I can't even pull it up right here. But it's the NVIDIA iCore 7 processor with a 2 terabyte RAM and whatever that guy sold me at Best Buy the other day. I greatly appreciate that, dude. What customer service that was. That was awesome. But yes, that's what I'm seeing for Total 3. If you defy this bullish divergence, to me, and I'm gonna say this, and I know everybody's gonna hate it, but look, to me, even if you come down here and test these lows, I'm not really interested in the market anymore. I can't be, because you'd be below the daily 200 MA on the altcoins. You'd fall below the weekly 200 SMA, and you'd be looking to come and test that prior low. If that doesn't hold, that's a change in market structure. And even if you got to bounce to the upside, you'd be looking for that bearish 618786. That's what I have to say about that. So if this daily bullish divergence does not play out, and that's why I'm going a little heavier here on the trade. If it doesn't play out, if the daily bullish divergence doesn't play out and we dump to the downside and crack this low on the wick on any of your major assets, that's where I would consider, like, okay, I need to be a lot more cautious with this market, and I would have to switch my thesis to bearish. I would not be bullish again until we broke the all-time high. I couldn't, because we would make that lower low. You have to assume that there's going to be a lower high coming in. If you think that it's likely that we make a lower low, the odds of this are very low, if non-existent, right? We make a lower low and then we just come up and make a higher high. That does not often happen in markets. Right? Even here, coming back up, we made a higher low. We made a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Then we made that first lower high, and then you had a lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, until what? Lower high, lower low equal low, lower high, lower low, and then you had that first you didn't even get it there. This would be equal highs here on total, the total market cap, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. Equal highs, equal high. You could say that was a higher low, and you could speculate on getting in here, but you would have gotten absolutely wrecked too. Until you got this push right here, that higher high, and you can speculate on either a 618786 bearish retracement or a bullish retracement, or the flag and drag, as they call it on League of Legends, the flag and drag, and then extrapolated flagpole. That would be the change in market structure that you would need to see in order to confirm a bullish bias. It works the same way in the opposite direction. If we break this low, and since that happened, we've never seen these prices again. We haven't, and likely we won't until we enter the bear market. So there will be a bear market, everybody, and we don't know if that's now. I'm not saying it's now, but it's something that we got to keep on our radar, right? In the event that this bullish div did not hold, that's why I would be bearish, and I would likely be selling some of our bag. I'd be selling some of the bag. I definitely would be. I'd be de-risking, because I'm not willing to hold a lot of these cryptos that I'm holding throughout a bear market cycle. No, thank you, not for me. But that's what I'm looking at. That's my plan. I'm not saying it's not financial advice, but that's what I'm looking at for going going into these upcoming few months or slash weeks, as this daily bullish divergence doesn't hold, I'm going to see severe weakness in the market. And you can say, oh, but the 618, 786, right? Yes, there is room for a bounce here. There is room for a bounce here, but you'd be defying major bullish divergence. And unless this extrapolated out and created another high here on the RSI indicator while you made another low, maybe coming down at the 786, I just see it as more unlikely. I think this daily bullish divergence is super strong right now with the 618 bounce. To me, that was the bounce you needed in order to get the reversion to the upside, and you got that break above the 200 MA. That's what I'm looking at here for total. That's for the whole entire market cap of crypto besides Bitcoin and Ethereum. And even Bitcoin, if Bitcoin defies its daily bullish divergence, imagine the fear, everybody. Imagine the fear. And it would defy the daily bullish divergence, and everybody's still thinking that it's going to, 150, 200, 300,000. I think that going up, I think this thing's going to absolutely moon off the higher low. But that thesis goes away once we start defying Fibonacci's and this daily bullish div. So if this daily bullish div does not hold on Bitcoin right here, this swing down of price action, while we have that swing up on the RSI, and I don't like being a bear. I'm not being a bear. I'm not being a bear. I promise you guys. But if this does not hold and we come down here and we violate this 618, 786 zone, that's it. That's it for Bitcoin too. And that, I'd be more. You can also look at alts as like a leading indicator. Be like, if the alts fail at the 786, all the altcoins, is Bitcoin likely? It could. You have to take that with a grain of salt. But that's what I'm looking at here for the for Bitcoin. For total 3, that daily bullish divergence is so key right here, and I'm looking at this playing out to the upside. We get this squeeze to the upside for Bitcoin at this daily bullish divergence and flip this high volume node. I will be the biggest bull, and that's where I'm sitting right now because we're above the daily 200 SMA. We get above here, and it can happen very, very quickly, and we flip this high volume node into support. Oh, baby, that will be the golden opportunity. Once we shoot up here, likely we test this high volume node again. We get up that 104, 105,000. I wouldn't be thinking all time high. What are the odds of this happening? The odds of this happening, very, very low. I just think is it possible? Absolutely, but I think it's low. I think we at least test the high volume node in this area of key key support right here at around that $95, $96, $97,000 level. Looking for longs in this zone for a test of the highs and a blue skies breakout, I think is a very, very wise idea going on into the market right here. Even if you did absolutely nothing. If you didn't have a position right now and you did absolutely nothing, you said, hey, I'm going to wait for this scenario. That's a great trading plan. That's a great trading plan. Or, hey, we get up here, we reject from the high volume node, put a stop on the other side, and you speculate on the bear market being starting here with the first, you could argue that these are lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. You're waiting for the 618, 786. Are you a Fibonacci trader? There's so many ways to trade this market, but the important thing is, at the end of the day, you need to have a trading plan that you execute day in and day out. That's how we've been able to double this account, baby. That's almost double this account. That's how we've been able to push this account to the upside over the course of the past 40 days, up about 80% on the account. We've been massively killing this market, but the only reason we've been doing that, the only way we've been doing that is because I have a set, solid trading plan and strategy. I know when to go heavier, I know when to go lighter. Weekends, we definitely go lighter, baby. But yeah, I know when to go in, I know when to get out, and I know how to do it with risk management based on the probabilities of each individual setup. That's how I trade. It's important that you guys understand that there is a strategy to all of this, and without any strategy, it's what? It's gambling. It's gambling. So shout out to everybody here. Shout out to everybody here. Thanks for sticking it with me here on this crazy day for Bitcoin, as we did have that run up to almost 88. Did we get the 88? We got the 88 set. We are almost $89,000 for Bitcoin since retracing about almost 2.5% down to just under $87,000. Let's look at the smaller time frames to see what's going on for Bitcoin. Drop your altcoins, drop your questions in the chat. I'd love to be here with you guys on this Monday. Thank you for being here. So we're underneath the 1 minute 200 SMA. We're underneath all of them, I bet. 3, 5, 7, 15. Where's the 15? 15 still coming up. So currently we're trading above the 15 minute 200 SMA. That's okay. That's not bad. I will say the 15 minute is one of my favorite. The 15 minute is one of my favorites, right? Because it's a good indicator of whether those higher time frame 200 SMAs are going to be tested. You break the 15, you're likely coming at 30 in the 1 hour, which are down here pretty a lot more substantially, right down this $84,000 level. I don't think we're gonna get there. I really don't. I think we might see 85.3. Why do I say 85.3? Look at this fib pool from the swing low to the swing high. I think 85.3, 85.266 right here. I think that is likely to get tested on the 618. I think that can definitely happen if we don't start playing 200 MA dominoes to the upside, baby, to the upside. So that's what I'm looking at for Bitcoin as we go in here throughout the night. I will keep you guys updated on Twitter. Follow me at BoysCrypto102 to get all my trades and setups. Not financial advice, obviously. Not financial advice, everybody. But it does give you an idea of what I'm doing and how I'm handling the markets. You are also forming a bullish divergence here on the 1 minute, right? The 1 minute's not strong enough, which oftentimes it is not. Oftentimes it is not. Did this one play out? No. But, you know, you get bullish divergence on the 1 minute, so you come over here to the 5 minute. Are we getting bullish div on the 5? Well, yes, we are getting bullish div on the 5. We are making higher lows here on the 5 minute while we're making higher lows on the RSI while we're making lower lows on price action. That is bullish divergence on the 5 minute. Let's see if we get that kick up here. That bullish divergence does say you're going to break 87.6 before you break 86.733. Now, this bullish divergence is only more validated the higher time frame you go, right? So we still don't have that bullish dip here on the 15 as we haven't had that curve up yet. You did right here ever so slightly, and you got a little bit of a reaction. But that's how it works, going time after time after time after time. And you did have bearish divergence here on the 1 hour, which is currently giving you a little bit of sell pressure. You do have this swing across here. Look at that swing down on the RSI indicator while you have this massive swing up on price action. That's bearish div, suggesting that you're going to break this low here before you break this high. So this bullish div on the smaller time frames, bearish div rearing on the higher time frames. You have to go with the higher time frames. In my experience, you have to go with the higher time frames and understand what they mean, that they're it's way more likely to play out on the higher time frames than the smaller time frames. 1 minute, if you're trading high leverage, yeah, you can go bull div all day and you can take advantage of a move just like this, right? Just like that. But, you know, to me, I'm not that kind of trader. Higher leverage is not my game. I've tried it, I've dabbled in it, but it isn't something that I really enjoy as much because I have to be staring at the chart. Like I have to really get in there, right? That's not what I'm looking to do with my night or throughout the Asian trading session. So yes, let's see what tomorrow brings with the market. I'm very excited to dive on into that and check it out on 9:30. I'm usually up to about 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to about 10 Eastern Standard Time to check out the market and see how it opens and see the kind of the directional bias of the market throughout the day. That way I could go to sleep peacefully thinking that my trades are going to be all right as I sleep if I do decide to keep trades open in my sleep. So that's how I kind of do it. I do stay awake for that New York market open. Shout out to everybody. Thank you everybody for diving on into the chat. I'm not getting, if there's any chats, anything that you guys want to go over, drop them on in the chat. I do want to hop on over to Fear and Greed. I'm very interested to see where Fear and Greed is sitting for Bitcoin, baby, for Bitcoin. I don't know if the chat's working. The chat is, the last thing I got is from April with the waves, baby. 46 for Fear and Greed. Historically a great time to accumulate some of your favorite assets. This does update in about 20 hours. We only gained a point today, which is kind of surprising based off the pump that we did have. But yeah, we do have a lot of room to go to the upside. And in the event that that daily bullish divergence does play out, you can expect us to creep up here into the fear, into the greed again, and people to start getting real frothy with the market. You get up into this extreme greed, that's where you start seeing those 10, 20, 30% candles to the upside until you get that drop off, right? That leak in your gas tank, bringing the fuel meter back down to the neutral area. Woo! That's what I'm seeing here for the Fear and Greed, baby. The Fear and Greed this week is very key. U.S. economic news calendar. Let's pull it on up and see what I'm looking at for this upcoming week. Today, hey, kind of a nothing burger to me. I mean, I don't see, U.S. services PMI, not something I care about. What I care about here, tomorrow we do get a little bit of the, where's the consumer confidence? Okay, consumer confidence does come in. Yeah, consumer confidence does come in. Okay, why is that updated right now? Okay, at 10 a.m. we should get consumer confidence. I don't know why there's a number here. It shouldn't be until tomorrow. But hey, here's what I'm looking at for Thursday and Friday, the biggest days of the week, in my opinion. You have initial jobless claims and you have personal income and personal spending. I think getting a look at the average consumer and what they're doing with their money is going to be very, very important when judging the broader market, both stocks and crypto. You're going to see if people are hoarding onto their cash, and judging by the charts, they're not. right? With the stock market getting inflated right now, getting a little bit of a pump to the upside, it shows me that people are likely spending a little bit, but this data isn't going to reflect that. This will be for Q4, I believe, Q4, and we'll be able to see how the average consumer is doing when it comes to their income, right? We'll get a percentage of like whether they're bringing in more or less and spending, whether they're spending more or less. That's going to give us a great indicator, and those are likely going to be the bigger movers here, especially on Friday, with there being lower liquidity in the market on a Friday. I think this personal income and personal spending are going to do major damage to the market, whether to the upside or to the downside. Trading these events is often very, very dangerous. Every time we get a news event, you can tell the days you get a news event, baby. You can tell the days you get a news event. What do we have yesterday? Yesterday, yeah, something happened yesterday. Trump announced that the tariffs aren't going to be as strict. These are bigger candles. This was the strategic reserve announcement. This one was the U.S. tariff. I don't even need to. I know roughly around when these the times when these things were announced, and you can see they correspond with the biggest candles in the game, baby. And oftentimes when it comes to charting, you can't chart like whenever you break this down on the 15-minute time frame. Like zoom on out here. This was that day. Look at this. You're trading, you're at the 15-minute 200 MA. You're looking like you're about to lose it, and then you get an announcement that rockets the price up of Bitcoin about 10% in about what? An hour and 45 minutes for the biggest asset in crypto? What? That was crazy. That was a monumental move for Bitcoin. And then just the next day, you had the tariff announcement that absolutely capitulated the market. So, you know, whenever these news events do come out, or you get a tweet on Twitter or something from a high government official or something like that, man, it is crazy to see what it could do to the prices of these volatile assets. And if you think this is crazy on Bitcoin, look at your altcoins and see what those did during this time. Monumental moves for your favorite coins, baby, for your favorite coins. I don't think. Hold on. Hey guys. Much love. Let me get out of this chat here and let me restart it, because I don't think my chats are updated. YouTube, baby. I do it on the phone here. Let's see. Oh, I got the chats. We're updated, everybody. We're updated. Hey. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for letting me know. I don't know. Hey, April texted me. April, what's up, girl? How you doing? April texted me. She said the chats are not working. Let's dive on in. Hey, thank you for doing that. Wanda, we're going to look at render. Yeah, all right. Hey, what's going on? Someone call him and that to get that. Thank you. I do need a second monitor, and I'm working on that, man. We got one here. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but we got it down here. Nice curved monitor. We're going to use the curved monitor that we used to use, and we're going to put it up right here. I'm going to have OBS and all my stuff, all the chats right there on the side. So shout out to you. Hey, what's going on? Smokey McPherson, I appreciate you being here, man. April wants NVIDIA. Let's dive on in to NVIDIA. Been a minute since we looked at a stock here. Let's dive on over here to NVIDIA. I remember with the DeepSeek announcement, they got absolutely annihilated, kicked in the balls, and they had a massive capitulation on that. I think it was a 20%. It was something ridiculous. Let's look at the daily on NVIDIA. Dropping below that daily 200 SMA, not something that you want to see. You know, and you could argue that this was like this for the entire stock market. You know, you did drop below that daily 200 SMA. I think on the S&P and the NASDAQ, we could check that. But yeah, you did have this massive drop for NVIDIA over the course of, you know, a singular daily. Where was the DeepSeek announcement? I can't remember where the DeepSeek announcement was, but it was a colossal disaster for NVIDIA. NVIDIA, baby. Here we are getting a little bit of a bounce here off of this bullish divergence that has formed on the 4-hour time frame. You have that swing across on the RSI, while you have this swing down in price action. That is bullish divergence, getting a little bit of a reaction here, suggesting that you're going to break this $143 level before you break this 105 level. That is going to take some time to play out, but it's been crazy. This is one of the biggest assets in the United States, and it's been moving like an altcoin. Look at this. You had a massive, 26% pump. You had a disgusting 26% dump. Is that not like an altcoin? NVIDIA? What? NVIDIA, look in the bounce here off of the 4-hour bullish divergence. Do you have it on the daily? You have it on the daily as well. Right here, you have that swing down in price action, while you have the swing up on, or swing down in price action, while you have the swing across / swing up on the RSI. Looking good for NVIDIA for a reversal. I would bring caution here. Let's see what these Fibonacci's look like. All right. Let's see here. From the swing high, swing low, 786. So then you go swing high, swing low, up to the 786 swing high to the swing low right here. Could you get up to the 786? Could there be like a little bit of a squeeze here to the upside? I think that's likely. You know, you test the 200 MA, that'd be a 618 bounce before reversion to the downside. That's how these charts work. You don't just do this. You don't just nuke, right? Very unlikely, except for like during COVID and things of that nature, right? But you know, these are some of the biggest companies in the United States. It's unlikely that they're just going to take a massive nuker unless there's some kind of major economic event, like some kind of war, or, you know, Pearl Harbor kind of event. But Nvidia getting the bounce on the daily bullish divergence, suggesting that you do break this high at 143 before you break this low at 104. This has been one of the more volatile assets in the game since China's DeepSeek, bringing massive confusion into the market. Nvidia does have some competition coming up, and DeepSeek claims that Nvidia is so overvalued. That's why people are fearing in the market right now. They're like, oh my gosh, is this really overvalued? They're questioning the value of this company. And you know, you could say that about a lot of things in the S&P right now, just because of how inflated that we are. Let's look at the NQ and NASDAQ. That's my analysis on Nvidia. You are getting that bounce off the daily bullish divergence. But to me, whenever you're looking at the broader stock market, it's healthier to look at the NQ, right? This is the average of the, you know, the top, you know, NASDAQ's 100 futures. You can see that we're below the daily 200 SMA. You know, the NASDAQ and the S&P, those collections of stocks are very important to look at when you're gauging the overall economy of the United States. So here we are on the daily for the NQ, same thing, bearish div, right? Not really bearish. You didn't really have bearish div there, did you? No, I can't say that. I haven't looked at these stocks in a while, I'm not gonna lie. But okay, dropping below the daily 200 SMA, that's a bearish sign. You don't want to see a rejection from here. You do not want to see a rejection from here. Let's zoom out and see the last time we were below. The last time we broke below the daily 200 SMA and we flipped it. Does this not look very similar to where we're at right now? This area right here in the charts. This period of time, right here, where we come up and we can potentially test that 200 MA and then revert to the downside. Test it again as resistance. This served as support, you know, on the way up. You know, support. You fall beneath, resistance, get above. You know, and now that was a key area to remain above here for the NASDAQ. You fell below, flipped it into resistance to the downside, and now here we are again. Does this not look very similar? You broke below the daily 200 SMA, coming up to test it, currently acting as resistance. You get a reversion to the downside. Maybe it comes up and tests resistance again. There's been a lot. Look at this VRVP, baby. Let's zoom on out here and look at the VRVP and see how let it update. You do have some high volume clusters up here. It is what it is, but the majority of stocks here have been trading. Let's see. Where's the majority of stocks exchanged hands? Yeah, it's crazy that, like, look at this down here. How so many, like, the older generation having that much of each individual stock. That's crazy. But yeah, you fall below 19,974, which you did. You got back above this high volume node. That looks good. But Nvidia, baby, you know, and the NASDAQ, it has been stronger over, you know, it has been stronger in the, I'm bearish below the daily 200 SMA. That's what I'll say on stocks. I believe the stocks are highly inflated. A run like this, I will say, is not sustainable. This is not sustainable. This kind of movement is not sustainable. This is a parabola. Whenever parabolas crack, and they crack, and when they crack, sure, we could still double up on the stock market. I'm not saying that we can't. But when this cracks, it's going to be the biggest bearish. It is going to be the biggest downfall we've ever seen in our lifetime. Why? Because nobody in the stock market that's gotten in the stock market that is under 35 years old has ever lost money in the stock market. Ever. If you put money in the stock market, you went through COVID, ever since 2008, you went through COVID, you went through 2022, it doesn't matter. You had these massive V-shaped recoveries. Look at this. This was COVID right here. I don't even need to look at the chart to look at this. Was COVID right back here in 2020. V-shaped recovery. You don't often see that in economies, right? This was where the Fed turned on the money printer and we've inflated everything. The stock market is almost 3 times as big as it was back during COVID just 5 years ago. Is that likely going to happen? Is that likely going to happen again? Are we going to triple up here again in 5 years? Unlikely to me, not something that I see happening. And I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. I just know below this daily 200 SMA, I have to be bearish. I have to be bearish until we get a confirmed full candle body close above that daily 200 SMA for continuation to the upside. That's what I'm looking at for the NASDAQ. Let me see what else we got here. We do have bear dip here on the NASDAQ. Right here on the weekly, you have your swing down in the RSI while you have that swing up in price action. That suggests that you break this low here on this wick before you break this high. That could definitely happen. That could be the start of a rollover for the NASDAQ. I'm also seeing this kind of shoulder, head, right shoulder buy, and I'm not... it's tough for me with stocks because I have such a passion that stocks are super overinflated due to money printing, and you could argue with that with any asset, but I just think that the way the Fed, you know, it's crazy. They're trying to abolish the Fed. Donald Trump's trying to abolish the Fed, and I'd be really curious to see what that does to the stock market speculatively. If the Fed's abolished, how are we going to handle monetary policy? And if there's nobody to monitor the monetary policy right away, or we get the news that the Fed's abolished, well, you know, the Fed historically has been able to prop up markets with its decisions. So who's going to make those decisions, whether we need more money in the system or not? It's interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how that affects the markets as a whole. So that's what I'm looking at for NVIDIA, for the NASDAQ. Let's dive on into the chat. Shout out to everybody for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hey, yeah, I wasn't getting the chats. Big bottom runner penny stock, SMSI, may pop for a bit. Nice bounce, 500%. Is easy from Unreal Designs. I appreciate you being here, man. I appreciate you being here. We'll look at that. We'll look at that. Absolutely. Auction bounce token. Yeah, I'm actually in a long right now on bounce token. Not looking good. Not looking good. Woo! Ethereum down. We got auction down. Good night. We are not looking good on the trades today, ladies and gentlemen. It is what it is. Why am I in a long on auction right now? I'll show you. So auction, we are talking about a retracement. This candle was a monument. Look at, oh my goodness. The amount of people that got wrecked on this candle, I can't even, you know, I can't even describe to you guys how horrible this was for people. I'll bet people chased this all the way up and got absolutely smacked in a day. Wild. Well, why am I in a long right now? Let's clear this up. So we were talking about this on the channel before bounce even had its run up from swing low to swing high here. We came down, we're swing low to swing high. You know, from the last swing low to swing high, the next higher low likely area to come in is going to be at that 786 area. That's why I'm in a long right now on bounce token. Do I think we can get a further reversion to the upside? Yes, I do, and that's why I'm in a long. You know, I'm using good risk management and everything. You know, managing this long and watching this long very, very carefully. We're sitting just beneath the high volume node. It's imperative that we get that squeeze above that. But the 786, I'm looking for the 786 to hold for bounce token for at least a little bit of mean reversion to the upside, and that risk reward is what makes this so juicy to me. Because what if we did get this swing high and you're speculating on a bearish retracement to the upside? Well, you're looking at the cost of bounce token at about $49 to $57 on a squeeze to the upside before reverting down. That looks highly likely to me. That's what the charts say are likely to happen. So that's why I'm in the long right now. It is not doing very good. I will advise you guys of that. No trade is going to be 100%, but this is an area where I'd be interested in bounce after that massive capitulation fear of about 70% to the downside. 70% to the downside, baby. What a colossal move for bounce token to the downside. Congratulations to anybody on your way up, but this is why you have to have a trading plan. If you get out, take profits, take out your initial investment on anything. If you double up on anything and you don't take out your initial investment, I think that if you double, triple, quadruple, and you don't take out 25% of your position and protect your initial capital, this is the risk that you run. This is the risk that you run. Anything that runs like this is likely to revert very, very violently to the downside, That's why your auction isn't moving. Yeah, hey man, yeah. Hey, listen, that's what I'm looking at for a long. I'm speculating on a long here. We're below the 4-hour 200 SMA, but we seem to have found some kind of flooring here. We seem to have found some kind of support down here at this level at the 786, and you with that high volume node right there, it looks good to me. That would be a resistance support flip. That looks good, and we'll see if it plays out to the upside. We'll see, man. I'll keep you updated with that on Twitter, but this was a colossal move to the downside. Seeing this nuke further, I just think it's very unlikely. Like, even if you were like, oh, it's a bear flag, it's going to dump to the downside, that would take you below zero. Like, that's impossible. You can't go below zero on the price, right? And that would take you to negative $27. Not happening. So I'm speculating based off of this higher high being created. You had a higher high, higher low. You had a major higher high, I have to take the swing low to the swing high and assume, hey, we're likely to put in a higher low. Where do I know it's likely that that higher low comes in? At the 618, 786 area, the 786, the line in the sand, my stop is below, my stop is at like 19.4 or so. If the stop gets hit, the stop gets hit, and that's it for the trade for me. We'll gap down in this VRVP, we'll fall off this high volume node right here, and we will fall further. It is what it is, and bounce may take back all the gains, but I do know if we are going to get a bounce here for auction token, right here is the likely area it is to happen. It's likely going to happen around this zone. You didn't have any real bullish divergence. You did have a little bit here on the 1 hour that did kick you up, but we'll see if that does play out. It suggests you break this high, you know, and you did with that wick. So I don't know for bounce. For bounce token, I'm speculating on a bounce based off of the 786 and the 786 alone, everybody. It's tough because once you have these massive candles to the downside, the chart, this RSI will get heavily skewed. Like just from this movement, even on the daily, like look at that violent, you don't see vertical lines here very, very often on bounce. Let's see if this happened right here. I'm just looking for mean reversion to the upside. So you have this swing on, swing low. You came down to the 886 there. So yeah, we could get an 886 retracement, but I'm gonna do the 786 and I'm gonna cut my loss if we do drop below that, man. That's what I'm looking at for bounce token. Bounce to the upside. That's what I'm seeing. I think it's very, very likely. We've just been chopping here. We've been chop city in here all day. My stop's down here. We'll see if it gets hit. Hopefully not. Hopefully we get back above this high volume node and squeeze to the upside. I think that's likely. I think that's very, very likely, but we'll have to see as the night plays out. But we do seem to have found some footing here for bounce, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm liking what I'm seeing for a bounce to the upside for auction, baby. For auction, stops down about here, about 19.4. We'll see what's going on. If that 786 fails, that's a wash. It is what it is. We will reevaluate. Baby. All right, diving on into the chat. Thank you guys for keeping me updated on the chat. Every once in a while, I'll drop this in and I'll let you guys know. So last thing I see is some Nasty Kid. That's why our auction isn't moving. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. If I'm not, April, give me a call. What's up? Give me a call and let me know. Oh, Wanda, thank you for texting me. I appreciate you guys. Hey, I appreciate you guys. Okay, here we go. Consumer are buying Taco Bell and Red Bulls. Yeah, it's what you need to survive, PMG Corey. I agree, man. I agree. All right, Wanda wants to look at render. Absolutely. Let's do it. Render. We are diving on into render. Auction. We looked at auction. Whoop. And yeah, that's what we're looking at. We'll look at SMSI as well. So let's look at render. Render, baby. Render on the perpetuals. Oh yeah, styling in, gotta get a sip of that monster. Wow, on the 1 minute, render is strong, baby. Flagging out here on the 15-minute for render. Let's zoom on in here. I do know that you guys sometimes can't see this chart because I'm zoomed out too far, and I'm gonna work on that for you guys. I'm gonna work at like more zoomed in, right? Because I can see pretty well on the screen, even though it's zoomed out like this. I can get like a more macro perspective, and I do that all the time because it allows the VRVP to update. But I'm gonna keep you guys in the game. I'm sorry if I've been doing that. Nobody's told me. Okay, here we go. Flagging out on the 15 for render. Looks very, very good. This is a massive flag forming on render. Can you get that squeeze to the upside? Well, what I would like to see is stochastics reset. Let's see what time frames they are reset on. You don't have it on the 5. You're battling with the 7-minute 200 SMA. You fell below the 5. I'd be cautious here for render. What I'd want to see are these where's the 1 hour? The 1 hour 21's up. The 21 2 hour is coming up. That does look good. This flag does look pretty good for render to the upside. I would like to see us get above that high volume node at about 382 for continuation, for a confirmed breakout. You could wait for the breakout and a retest. I wouldn't chase any green candles here. With Bitcoin kind of hovering right now. Let's see what bubbles is looking like. Yeah, we're still red on the 15.5, the 1 hour. Also still struggling, but we'll see how it goes. For render probably one of the stronger ones in the game right here. Render, baby. Yeah, one of the stronger ones, kind of holding up over the past, where is it, 15 minute? Yeah, 15 minute, hour, only down 0.5% when a lot of these are down 1% or more, up to 2%. So render's looking okay. In the flag to the upside, you are very, very overbought here on the RSI, on the 2 hour, and on the higher time frames, even the 4 hour. So I'd look for some reversion here. Maybe wait on the 4 hour to come back down to a 618, 786. you know, but you are forming a flag, and that does look really, really good to me for a move to the upside for render. I'm going to be a little patient here, waiting on any additional entries into any of these altcoins, because I want to see how Bitcoin develops throughout the night. If the Asian market kind of kicks it up, and we can see if the US market starts to average into Bitcoin, and start moving the market further to the upside, maybe on some increased tariff news or something like that, like more clarity in the market. That's what we need. Ever since that tweet, we need some clarity, baby. We need some clarity. Yes, that's what I'm seeing for render. Bull flag to the upside for render. I think it's very, very likely I'd still be sitting on my hands waiting for these stochastics to reset. If I was going to trade this flag, I would wait for these stochastics to start to bend on at least the 1 hour. Yeah, the 1 hour is kind of hanging out in this oversold territory. I'd wait for that to bend up to the upside, and perhaps even wait for a crack of that high volume node at about 382. That's what I'm looking at for render, baby, for render. Let's look at SMSI, something I've never heard of. SMSI. Smith Micro Software. No, absolutely nothing about this. A part of the NASDAQ here. Let's dive on in. All right, SMSI. Good night, holy Neptune Nelly. This thing is on sale, baby. Wow. Oh my goodness. What is this? So yeah, you're trading at levels that you've never traded at before. Something that once traded at, oh my goodness, this must have been a behemoth. Up here at $530. That's the crazy part about the market, everybody. You know, you never really truly know what's gonna happen. And I promise you, if you told somebody back in 2011 trading this asset trading at $500, it's gonna be under $1 one day, people will be like, it will laugh in your face. That's crazy what the market can do to people. It's wild. Okay, here we go for SMSI. Let's zoom in here on the daily. So you haven't been above the daily 200 SMA arguably since you were trading at about $21. That is a 10x from here. So you didn't even get a candle body close, did you? You didn't get a full, yeah, you could argue that you did, but I would say you did not get a valid full candle body close above the 200 SMA. That's what I would be looking at here. Wow, you do have some hidden bullish divergence here where you have a swing across in price action. You have a swing across in price action or swing up in price action, while you have a lower low being formed here on the RSI. That's hidden bullish divergence. Whenever you have more space to go to the upside, that does signal hidden bullish divergence when you do have a swing up while you have a swing down on the RSI. This is hidden bullish divergence. Bullish divergence is when you have a swing down on the price action while you have a swing up here on the RSI. It is just the opposite. It is just the opposite, everybody. That's hidden bullish divergence. So hidden bullish divergence here for Smith Micro Software. Okay, yeah, you are trading beneath this high volume node that you formed over the past, what would you say, 6 months? So it is very, very important that you get back above this high volume node. Very, very key at about 92 cents. Once you flip this daily 200 SMA, you know, to me, if I was looking at, so leverage and options are very, very similar. To me, I don't know anything about the team. I don't know what's going on with this asset. It has rebounded. If you zoom on in here, it has rebounded pretty massively off the lows for about 41% to the upside. Yeah, it's crazy. Even though an asset has fallen this much, that you can get those 41% pumps. If the team is here, and the team is here to stay, if the company's back, you know, and they're making innovation and solving things about the future. I'm not a huge stock guy. Just a, you know. It's tough for me to get involved in stocks when I just see a lot of these stocks trading at, you know, price to earnings ratios of 30 to 1 or greater. It's just tough for me to get into assets like that. To me, that's just overvalued. I don't understand how you can make a 30th of what your stock, of what your total stock is in a year, and then validate those prices that the stocks are currently sitting at. And I get that there's inflation, and I get there's macroeconomic things that, you know, push the market to the upside. But to me, the stock market to me is very overextended where it is. And you could argue that Bitcoin is too. I mean, but to me, I like Bitcoin. I see it as the greatest asset in the world, and I like some of these alts. I think these have much greater upside potential than a lot of the stocks do. Okay, here we go. SMSI looking good. You know, you have that hidden bullish divergence. I have to wait until you start playing 200 MA dominoes. Where are you playing? Where are you playing at? So you're breaking the 7. You're likely to come to the 15. You come up to the 15, and this looks so ugly just because of, you know, how the market trades. You can't trade this. You know, you're not going to see it 2200 at night. These gaps that you form are the difference between when you close one day and when you open the next, right? So right here you have 1545, right? Or that's military time, 345. to 9:30 the next day, there's that gap because pre-market does not count, right? So whenever the stock market is about to open and prices adjust based off of pre-market and post-market trading, this gap is likely to get filled. These are CME gaps that do fill, right? If this was on a daily, this is what a CME gap would look like on the daily, right? For Bitcoin. Over the weekend, if you do get a drop, these gaps do like to get filled. So that's what I'm looking at for Smith's Micro Software, man. Hey, thank you for dropping that on into the chat. Thank you for dropping that on into the chat. Let's dive on in here into the chat here. Let's pull this on up. That's what I'm looking at. Unreal Designs. Thank you, man. The last thing I got from you, SMSI. Thank you for dropping on that into the chat. Over to Bubbles, we are struggling. Oh my gosh, we are getting some negatives on the hour. All the altcoins pulling back. Is Bitcoin struggling? Oh my gosh, Ethereum struggling. These trades really struggling. I'm gonna monitor these very, very closely throughout the night. Man, this has been tough to watch. It's been tough to watch. After a monumental day to the upside, it just doesn't seem like things are holding on here. We are getting the dumpage on Ethereum. Let's pull that up. Ethereum, baby. We are getting the let's pull up Bitcoin. Bitcoin's probably dumping too. If everything's dumping, Bitcoin's dumping, baby. That's just the reality. Yeah, Bitcoin dumping. We may come down here to this 85.3 level. It would validate this bearish divergence that we did form here on the 15th. Where are we finding that? On the 1 hour. Yeah, that bearish divergence on the 1 hour. Plus, it would be coming down to that 618786 Fibonacci that we did see right here. Right around that 85.1 level. I do see that happening. I think that's very, very likely as we go throughout the night. But I do expect a bounce coming in here to go and test until this market structure is broken, until this low is broken at about 83,000. I have to be a bull here. I have to be like, hey, we're likely to revert and chase further higher prices based off of this higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low market structure that we have here on the micro. Plus the 4 hour, we did have a confirmed break here of this symmetrical triangle. I want to see this. We only have 15 minutes left in this 4 hour candle. I don't, $400 up from where we are standing right now. I don't know if we could get that for Bitcoin. We'll see. But yeah, we want to stay above that 4 hour 200 SMA. Bitcoin has been playing with everybody's emotions here, everybody. It really has. It's been a tough market. I appreciate each and every single one of you for being here and being here with me as I try to transverse this thing and make sense of it all with you guys. I appreciate it. So yeah, we do have an area coming down here. You could argue that this is going to be a breakout retest to the upside. That would come down to about that same level, about that $85,000 level. I think it's very, very likely as we see throughout the night, but I am speculating on a bounce here out of this higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. I'm speculating on a higher low coming in here. That's why I have my limit orders where I do for Ethereum for a reversal to the upside, right? And we have this high volume node beneath us to support us. That's what I'm looking at for Bitcoin, baby. That's what I'm looking at for Bitcoin. Let me try to update this here real quick. Woo! Hey, shout out to each and every single one of you guys being here with me tonight. Monday night, baby. Monday night. That's what we're looking at. Thank you for being here. Monday night, baby. Yay, we're here trying to transverse this market, trying to understand what is going on and making it so that it is easy to understand for each and every one of us. Bringing the fun back to crypto trading, baby. Bringing the fun back to crypto trading and trading in general. A lot of people take this stuff seriously, but I urge you tonight as we go into the night, I know we see Bitcoin falling. Take a deep breath. We're in a great spot. We are in a good spot for Bitcoin. We're in a good spot for altcoins. We are, we're reverting from the lows that we created down here at 76,000. Isn't it crazy to think that we're closer to 96,000 than we are to where the low was here? And, I think that move up can happen very, very quickly. We're in an area of low volume here. The Asian markets are open. They are open. So we'll see if we get that bounce throughout the afternoon session of the Asian trading sessions throughout the night. Keep up to date with me on Twitter, everybody. Keep up to date with me on Twitter. I would love to be with you guys and share my trading ideas and insights as we go throughout the night. I will keep you updated on those trades. Man, it has been a wild night. Thank you, everybody, for being here and joining me here on this Monday night. I'm going to get cranking into a video here for you guys for an update on the market. My name is Matt. This is Voice Crypto. Thank you for joining me here tonight on this Monday night. You guys are absolutely awesome. I will see you next time. Until tomorrow, Voice Crypto is out, baby. We are out. Good night, everybody. I will see you tomorrow.